In this respect, as we have seen, the work says we live in comparative darkness, as it were by the light of a solitary candle, among complex instruments, the uses of which we do not rightly comprehend. These instruments are our ordinary centers and parts of centers, each having its own uses. A complete man would be therefore the embodiment of all these uses. We can see then that a complete man is far from us. We can see this at least, provided we are not lamentably self-complacent and ignorant of our innumerable insufficiencies. Ignorance, by the way, is cited in esoteric literature as one of the most death-dealing vices. Neither men nor women should ever be satisfied with themselves. I am speaking here of psychological death, far more to be feared than the death of the body. The work says we meet the dead everywhere, walking in the streets, sitting in houses, in offices, in courts, in cinemas, in clubs, in churches, in fact, everywhere, the living dead. This scandalous state of affairs is not revealed until we begin to glimpse it in ourselves. Looking in the glass, are we sure we are not looking at the dead, or at least the dying? A strange question. The death of the body is necessary, it is destined, but psychological death is not, and it is to this kind of death that I am referring. Now the increasing of consciousness will prevent it. Struggling with one's ignorance by efforts helps, but increasing the consciousness of oneself helps still more, and this requires another sort of effort. The broader the consciousness of oneself, the more is the power of reception. A narrow, prejudiced oneself takes in little. This makes overcoming ignorance by efforts, say of study, nearly impossible. The person is not interested, there is no room in him, but of course there is plenty of room. His oneself has no room. But if he increases the consciousness of himself and thereby loses his previous feeling of himself, his power of reception will be also increased. Can it be said that we always knew this? I do not think so. It requires some considerable reflection to grasp its meaning. Now the work says that as we are, we do not hear the continual messages sent out as high-level vibrations from higher mental and higher emotional centers. When it is said that we do not hear them, what is meant is that our ordinary, that is our lower centers, do not pick them up. The term higher centers implies the existence of lower centers. The latter are not receptive of the former. Owing to the state of our three lower centers, our powers of reception are limited. It is for this reason that the work says that our task is to prepare the lower centers for the reception of the vibrations from the higher centers. We therefore have to study by self-observation the state of our lower centers, and this is called the first line of work, namely, work on ourselves. Work on ourselves means work on our lower centers, on their state, their condition, their wrong working. With only one candle of light, we cannot see them. Self-observation lets in more and more light. So the work begins with self-observation. Now the condition of our lower centers not only renders them non-receptive to higher centers, but is such that it would be dangerous to receive them. The state of the emotional center, for example, saturated with the emotion of identifying and negative emotions and self-emotions, is so bad that were the vibrations coming from higher centers to play on it directly, it would cause us terrible damage. Only through its gradual purification can traces of the action of higher centers be received more or less directly. Even then, a transformer must needs come in between and step down the high voltages that belong to the higher centers, so that the lower centers are not fused.